God acts, Jesus appears, and the disciples are transformed. It is the Easter sequence, and it's very powerful. First, God acts. The resurrection of Jesus is a mighty act of God, first and foremost. It's primarily that. Jesus does not raise himself. God raises him. Who is the God that raises Jesus from the dead? The God who acts. He's the creator of everything, as we heard earlier, the source of life and joy, the Yahweh of the Old Testament, the I am who I am. He is life and being and freedom itself, the one who revealed himself to Moses at the burning bush, who reveals himself in every subsequent act and in every act of Jesus, and whose highest self-revelation comes in the resurrection of Jesus. This is the God who acts to make himself known, free to show new ways of revealing himself to the world, as he does here. So God acts. And second, Jesus appears. It is his resurrection. It's all of a piece with what Jesus was and said and did in his life. It was coherent, and it was all centered in God. The whole orientation and shape of his life was God-centered and God-directed. The boy who spoke at the age of 12 in the temple with authority, the preacher, the teacher, the healer, Jesus as God's way in the world. And now he appears, raised by God from the dead, in God's perfecting initiative as the Lord of the whole earth. I say very confidently that Jesus was raised from the dead by a mighty act of God. The truth of the resurrection depends on the witnesses to it. Indeed, the whole Bible is a series of testimonies and counter-testimonies to the God who is. And faith consists of trusting, as I do, that these testimonies point to something actual and true and life-giving. And third, the disciples are transformed. They believed that God had raised Jesus from the dead. Not at first. There was fear and disbelief and bewilderment. But it gradually dawned on them that the Spirit which the risen Jesus breathed on them after his resurrection gave them a new power for their life in the world. They were strengthened by it. And the worldwide church today is the living proof of that early testimony of Jesus' disciples, strengthened by the power of the risen Lord. This sequence, that God acts in mighty and powerful ways, that Jesus appears as the risen and undefeated Lord of the whole earth, formed by the living power of his Spirit, may well be the assistance and the pattern that you and I need in our attempts to follow Jesus, the Son of the living God. Alleluia. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Alleluia.